Wix Studio, one end-to-end web creation platform for your agency to deliver exceptional work with absolute efficiency.
The #1 long-form writer that helps SEOs outrank competition at the click of a button using real-time research and NLP. Start ranking content today with contentatScale.ai.
Well, you did a better presentation than I. Hi, I'm Christa Watson. She just told you exactly what I'm going to speak about, and I didn't know I was going to have to follow up saving lives. I just have a bunch of data. I'm sorry. So we'll go with that. If you like the presentation, see me after questions or anything. If you don't, if you know Locomotive, J.R. Oakes put it together, so you can just talk to him. Just tell him how terrible it is. But let's start with AI, because everyone loves AI, and AI, Google and Bing specifically, is what we'll be talking about today. But really just wanted to talk about the fact that AI is not new at Google. Google's been using AI since 2001. So, you know, Gary probably has a point here. Just because this apocalyptic AI article came out a little 20 years too late. So just because you read about it just doesn't mean it's new. And I just wanted to point that out. Our team put together, went through all of the research that Google has put out on anything with machine learning or AI over the years since 2002. And this is the published research of what Google's been working on since 2002. You can see there's been around since the early aughts here. Really took a steep jump in 2016 and beyond. And that specifically I'll talk about in a minute. But the team actually went through and categorized each one of the research sections that Google's been publishing on. So you can see that they've been, and they categorize machine learning as machine intelligence, but you can see Google's been working on machine intelligence since the early 2000s. It really ramped up around 2016, 2017. That's when you see the introduction of responsible AI, which I think we realize that we've kind of been immersed in recently. But also the algorithms have always been there, but they also just really ramped up the machine intelligence aspect of what they're putting out there and the research that they've been doing over with their teams. Google hasn't also been doing this. Everyone else searching for AI has also been doing this. So you can see here that this is the amount of research that Google's been putting out, also overlaid with the trend lines from Google Trends on the trend interest in machine learning. So is it a chicken and egg factor? I'm not totally sure. When it comes to, is Google putting out more research because people are wanting to consume it more? Or are people consuming more because Google keeps putting more and more out there about the research that they've been doing? It's undecided yet, but I'm going to talk a little bit about that further. You can see the top categories from the early aughts to 2015, pretty spread out on what Google was publishing in their research in their departments, specifically for machine intelligence algorithms, HCI and visualization, some NLP, and machine perception being in the tops. Slightly different, as you see 2016 plus. They've definitely surpassed, and the ratio is way high on machine learning, machine intelligence, AI, machine perception, which would be how machines interpret reality with music, video, just like how humans are humans. And really, algorithms kind of took a back seat to their research. So the shift is more gearing towards the machine intelligence, potentially inputting into the algorithms, and less on the algorithms and fixing the algorithms and changes in algorithms. So this is This is just about now how the media has been looking at both engines, Bing and Google, in the last few years when it comes to AI specifically. So you have, this is Ahrefs poll of all of the articles, including Google and Bing, as well as any kind of sentiment when it comes to machine learning, AI, or anything related to those searches. As you can see, Google pretty much dominated in the beginning of the year until I think we know what happened here, January 23, when Bing released its chat product, and it exploded. And you might all also be aware of what happened with Bard and their release, most likely prematurely, and their $100 billion loss in stock thereafter. But you can see just the pickup in media coverage after that specific incident and beyond, and how big the coverage is for both of those outlets to be publishing, specifically around AI. So this is just a little bit of a timeline showing you the type of publishing that Google and Bing are putting out just in the last year. I mean, obviously you saw the spike. It's incredible the amount of content that they've put out, but not technically and necessarily the amount of product or actual outcome of their research, just more information around the research they've been doing. All right. So just in the last year, I think I really just wanted to talk through the types of sentiment. So what we did was just, again, pulled together, scraped through all of the information around Google and Bing, specifically around AI and machine learning and NLPs, anything related to that, and categorize them on the sentiment of what's being published. And here you can really see that they're talking about, obviously people are not totally familiar. I mean, we've been involved in this for years now, but a lot of the public's not familiar. So there was a lot about the early integration into AI specifically, and then the chat bot, the chat feature really came into play, and that's when the public, especially with ChatGPT, came into play, and the public really became super interested. And now the sentiment and the discussion has gone into rapid development of how are you going to integrate this into your search and product. So now it's all about who can get the best product out there and how fast they can get it out there. And it behooves them to actually research this and publish this research because the public is eating it up like crazy. But really what we wanted to do was understand how is that impacting our world, right? So we had some hypotheses around this because of what happened with the Bing SGE versus the Bard release, and is Bing going to be preferred over Google? Like, where is this going to go? How has this been looking for the last year with all this press? And so we did an entire research of over 300 different sites, excluding any outliers or anything missing data. So we have around 300 sites that we have data around. And honestly, what we looked for, this is, per every click on Bing, how many visits from Google. And honestly, what we saw was very minimal. Like, there weren't huge changes and people just going in droves to Bing. There really weren't huge changes overall in anything we saw. So that was interesting. I think we did a lot of work here, and I expected to see something a little bit different. And we did get a little bit of a surprise here. So the surprise we got was, the difference of month over month I also wanted to show was not a big difference, except for maybe March. There was a slight median change. May. There was a slight median change. But the difference I did want to show is we did notice a huge change and shift within healthcare sites. So anything that's categorized as majority of like healthcare related sites. And then we also saw a large change in real estate websites. So I don't have a conclusion as for why yet. Healthcare, I had a few hypotheses around, but honestly, those were all kind of normalized with the data. Like we took out the outliers. So there were some changes in healthcare policies and whatnot. I have no idea what happened with the real estate space, but we are going to keeping an eye on these types of sites to see if there's any flip-flop or any reasoning as to why. To me, I think if I was you, this would probably be one of the more interesting slides, because to me, this is just where are we going with this type of chat and generative search. And if people can get answers within Google or a chat AI type itself, what happens to the sites that are dedicated to answers? So here we found information for both Wikipedia and for Stack Overflow. As you can see, Wikipedia has not been affected one bit, which actually was very surprising for us. I will go with conclusions in a minute, but Stack Overflow, we had a thought that if you can get your coding answers through Copilot or other such bots, would you need to even post on Stack Overflow anymore? And we saw the change in their analytics. They said that they had a change to their cookie consent and to their GA that impacted their analytics. But we looked through their post questions and answers, and they had the similar decline on site. So I'm not sure, we don't have all of the answers here, but we do think that because of something like Copilot, we do see the reduction in usage in sites like Stack Overflow. If anyone knows anybody at similar sites that want to connect us and we can do more analysis here, I think that would be great. My hypotheses specifically would be early adopters like developers or copywriters or what have you are starting to use these tools, these AI tools. I'm not sure that the general public is quite there yet. So the potential here is, will the general public end up hitting the websites like Wikipedia over time? And will you see those start to decline? I would say probably yes, but I just don't know the timeline for that. A little bit about stuff in the wild. There's just some random fun stuff here. So informationally, it's new. We're still getting there, right? So if you start asking Bard versus Bing Chat some questions, you're going to get some very different answers. Bard seems to be very stale and very specific, very informational. Bing Chat has changed as we've been doing this research. They're starting to kind of integrate almost like a personality, almost an opinion. So as you can see here, Bard, I don't know, JR selected the winner here. I'm not sure which one's the winner, but basically Google's like, no, they're illegal. Please don't buy alligators for your pet. They would not make great companions. Bing specifically does not recommend it as themselves. They're saying, I do not recommend that you buy them. They're wild animals, can be dangerous. I think you'll also notice shorter answers. As human beings, I think we have less capacity to sit there and read through the points that something like Bard was giving us. So in that aspect, I'd say Bing Chat is just a little more conversational, a little more easy to digest, and that's probably why people preferred it in the beginning at the release. I know they're continuing to work on it. Literally, as we've been doing these slides, we've just been updating them because they keep updating. So this one's another fun one. We have a couple of UK colleagues who say whilst a lot, but we say while in the US. So it's, how do I replace all of the whilst with whiles in this presentation? And at this point, that's a great search for Bard. Whereas the Bing Chat search kind of roundabout gave you the answer, but not specifically. You'd have to kind of figure out on your own. So it really, at this point, depends on your style of prompt and who you are and what kind of answers you need on where you should use it. It's not quite there yet. I think we know that. It's not deterministic. So if you use the site operator in Bard, you can see other people's questions and answers. Just a little fun thing if you just want to go hang out and just see what everybody's asking about. If you happen to ask the same question, most likely you will get, in exactly the same question, you will get a different answer. So they're not the same answers every time. Even if you ask the same question multiple times, usually you're going to end up getting a different answer. So they're not set deterministic answers for chats, and they're constantly evolving. I think you might know this, but the SGs are very stingy with brand links. So what we're seeing in some of these AI responses are like 0 brand links coming through on the responses. Here's an example of what's the best dog food for Chewy, on Chewy, and zero URLs, links for SGE on this. Now, this was back in June, I believe. It might have been May. And we just looked it up, and Google just did an update September 1st, and they're still stingy, but better. So they did start adding brand and SGE. Although I don't know if you all have used it, it's really still pretty inaccessible when it comes to links. So I think the big question out there for everybody is, and especially for myself, I'm paid, how are we going to integrate these into a great user experience and generative responses, but also how are we going to make sure that we still have the brand at the top of mind as well as sponsored? We don't have an answer there yet, just so you know. And finally, the last point is tracking. Tracking is difficult, but we have found like a small workaround. This is just a hint for you guys that stuck around to the very end. So if you are tracking, we've noticed that Bard uses the same indexed passages on their featured snippets. So you can use text. Here's a closer view of what that looks like. Again, I'll have these presentations linked somewhere so you can kind of look at it a little bit closer. But what that means is, whilst it's not perfect, updating your tracking code to capture the text fragments will, for now, until they change it, will actually help understand a little bit about what's coming in through SGE for your traffic. So yeah, as you can see, attribution's very difficult right now. You still have just organic, unless you make that little workaround for now, see how long that works. Bard does not have that same snippet. It sets it to non-refer. And then Bing is still organic, and ChatGPT does come in as source chat. So there's that. So just in summary, it's been around. I'm sure you're tired of hearing about AI, but a lot of the AI we're seeing right now has been around and is not new. And I think you're hearing a lot more about it because it's incentivized through, honestly, the markets and the news media outlets, because it makes a lot of money for a lot of people. So I think what we'll see is we need to just keep tracking and understanding what that means for the changing in a lot of websites that are more informational. And then how do we obviously I don't want to say take advantage of that, but how do we make sure that it's not just Google and Bing dominating when it comes to answers and that? And then how much information do we actually share with them and how we share it with them so that they can supply those answers if they're going to keep being stingy with the links. So thank you guys for sticking around. And I know it's 20 minutes till the bar, so appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Monthly reporting making you want to shove sharp things up your nose? Try Dragon Metrics, the all-in-one SEO software with mind-blowing reporting tools.